Good evening, this is Kuro. Had a request for some Z52 footage and decided to play her a couple games tonight. And rather than showing you guys whole games, I want to kind of show you some breakdowns of different sorts of plays uh, with the Hydro um, and talk about how Z52 uh, really really works. It's a destroyer that I've talked before in previous videos about the strong to weak ebb and flow that destroyers have as they use their consumables. Um, Z52 is incredibly strong when it has all of its consumables available, and then it also gets incredibly weak once its consumables are down, and that's part of the reason why on some competitive builds you will see Jack of all trades run on Z52 just to reduce that period of time where it's vulnerable to with all of its consumables down. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go on ahead, kick this off, and this clip we're gonna talk about uh, you know fighting destroyers with your smokes and using your consumables, how to basically hunt and kill destroyers, because it's a lot different than anything else. Now, I spot this Kaba. This isn't my hydro. This is a 6 kilometer hydro. So I'm physically spotting this Kaba. He's pushing in, so I am going to drop smoke here. Um, but this Kaba, for whatever reason, um, plays very odd, and he starts reversing. I don't know if it's a battleship main or what playing this ship, but regardless, he's angled. My AP can't really pin him at that first angle. I can start to pin him now, so I'm switching back over. Uh, and then I just get some just bad RNG here. Now he is 6.7 outside of my detection. I have torpedoes coming in. I don't believe these torps are from the Kaba. So I'm just going to reverse, just angling in to the torps. Got a nice wide opening here. Now, I don't necessarily want to completely abandon this smoke. I'm pushing back up with my hydro to the edge of the smoke, and what I'm doing is I think there's another destroyer around here, and if I can pick him up with my hydro, I basically can work on that guy too. So I'm basically, working as far forward as I can, and, you know, just trying to use my hydro to clear things out. Now, this is really important. My smoke goes down. My hydro, I've got 48 seconds left. I know there's a low health cob out here. I want to spot this guy. I'd really like to shoot here, but I see the RPF switch, so I'm going to pull back. And why I'm pulling back is this Kaba was something like 6.5 kilometers from me. I have a DD closer than that. I don't have smoke. If I get in any sort of gunfight, I've got a Kaba that's already kiting away. Yes, he's low health, but he's going to be able to do a lot of damage to me, and I suspect that he's got a heal that's right around the corner. And I will be fighting two destroyers versus one, and even worse, this destroyer has smoke, so either I'm forced to, push in and try to use my hydro to see through this guy's smoke, or have to, you know, just deal with, you know, the initial gunfight and then trying to disengage without losing too much HP. The third option is I take my ball, I go home. I had already started turning out slightly, so what I'm doing by taking the third option, I'm basically denying them, this Kaba in particular, to equalize this trade. I already knocked 9K off the Kaaba. The Kaaba got hit by a bunch of other stuff. Basically, by denying him the opportunity to do significant damage to me, I really put this destroyer in a bind. Now, unfortunately, he's got a heal. My team's not gonna really shoot this guy the rest of the match, and he's able to heal back to roughly half HP. This game was another loss. Just if you look at my team's positioning, um, the enemy team starts to group their destroyers up in the middle of the cap, and it's only really me and this Musashi as this game goes on, holding the middle. And, as you can expect, that's predictable results. Unfortunately, we don't have any other support to punish this gearing for opening fire on me and me just driving away from him. So, again, just waiting for my cooldowns. You can see he already popped a heal off, and you can see just how big a deal that heal is. Dual purpose torps. I know this gearing's out here. Maybe the Kaaba keeps going that way, but he's turning right back out. And what's really drawing their attention is this Musashi here. He's just playing the bow-in game, so he's, a lucrative torque target. That's why I'm kind of over here. Is this area is protected by the island. If the gearing torps bow on, he's not really gonna kill him. But I'm patrolling out here to deny that gearing the really nasty torpedo arcs where he can dev strike that Musashi. And unfortunately, the Kaaba, I mean, if the Musashi can't land those hits, I can't really do anything about it. Really, what this guy should be doing is reversing back in up here and getting ready to go mobile. When I say getting ready to go mobile, that's basically driving as using your rudder to avoid damage, and just don't stay in one place to get shot up. Now, I kept pushing in here because my consumables are coming back up. I've got another 22 seconds for hydro, so I am looking to pick a fight with this gearing. Honestly, I was hoping that it could be a little longer. If you notice, I had AP loaded. I figured this gearing was going to turn broadside to me. So I basically just held my fire, waited for him to turn, and pretty much was rewarded with almost a 4K volley on him. So that gives me a pretty good jump start on this guy. And I'm just going to smoke up, and I'm just buying time. I don't want to be exposed to both of these guys. And actually it's 3 DDs right now that are here. So just disengaging with my smoke, using my hydro. I really should have swapped ammo for that volley to HE earlier. I put an extra AP one that basically bounced off his stern. Now what I'm doing here, I know there's these DDs out here. I'm pushing back up to the edge of my smoke. I don't see anything, so I'm gonna just peek just slightly beyond it because my vision extends even slightly beyond it. And, I got a bunch of stuff in my face, and this is, gonna be a bad trade just because of the number of ships I have shooting at me. The reality is, I needed more support here. Yeah, I'm making all of the right moves. This gearing, he's trying to smoke up. but he's being hydro spotted. I've got another minute 16 on hydro, and that's really the nasty power of the Z52. If you can use these smokes, your smoke screen or other smoke screens or islands, uh, to kind of give you the ability to spot for your team, spot for yourself. Excuse me. It's a really solid way at tilting these fights into your favor. I've basically been fighting a Gearing and a Kaba, you know, pretty much by myself this whole time, and I mean I've been chunking them down pretty good. If I had any manner of support here right now, I've just been playing defensive, trying to hold this position, try to save my Musashi. Um, if we had, that Zhao over here somewhere, these guys would be absolutely wrecked. Um, Unfortunately, it just doesn't work out that way. But, this slow, methodical working around your smoke with your hydro, letting your hydro, do the vision, how you position yourself in smoke, and then just peeking just outside your smoke to try to get that extra kilometer of vision because, I mean, you look and your vision, your spotting range is 6-1, your hydro is 6 kilometers. So, just by peeking out, I was pretty sure I'd be able to get the Kaba. Might be able to pick the gearing up as it was, the gearing was sitting just barely off my smoke screen. So, now, the issue here, there's so many destroyers, pushing in. This guy, he's actually still pushing forward, even though he's smoking. I was kind of hoping this guy would have disengaged in his smoke, and instead he doesn't. I get detected, and you can see just 1, 2, 3, 4, all popping up right at me, and this is pretty much the end of me, and the end of me holding the center of the map. My team's basically abandoned it, gave it to the enemy, and all of those DDs are in our cap in short order. And this game was over very shortly after. You cannot play standard battle like it's goddamn domination. You have to defend all sections of the map. So you have to watch the flanks and you have to watch the middle on this map. Look at how many guys are all back here. For some reason, we've got both of our DDs behind our battleships. That in and of itself tells me that they're not doing anything really for the team. So this was video 1. This is, had some really good content as far as working your hydro, fighting enemy destroyers. I'm gonna go on ahead and switch to I forget which game this is, but it's basically a game in Islands of Ice. We've got a snowstorm. Now, the interesting thing about snowstorm is the spotting dynamic. If you're in the snowstorm, Z52's spotting range, if you look at my mini-map, is 5.5 kilometers, but you have a 6-kilometer hydro. So all of a sudden, you're driving around, and you get a half a kilometer window on anything pushing into you. It could be a goddamn Kagero. You're spotting them at 6 kilometers. They can't spot you at 5.5 or until 5.5. So Z52 and Snowstorm is incredibly powerful. This is almost like wall hacking. Now I'm using basically what I did, I came up here, I approached into cap, and I was trying to provide the last minute spotting on this Kronstadt. I see that this guy's disengaged. My team's not really going to be able to do anything. So I go on ahead, I push up into the center of the cap to try to take it. And I've got my hydro active. I'm basically spotting all of the center cap. And we have a Haragumo that's pushing up here. I'm just going to smoke up. I don't want to fight this guy, you know, on even terms. So I'm just going to go on ahead and, you know, smoke up and just do what, you know, this ship does. And that's rip things apart with AP. Now, I think the damage that I took there was incidental with that guy shooting at the Wooster. He was just splashing me with, you know, shells that were missing the Wooster. So I know I wasn't really spotted, but I know that Wooster would have been spotted in that engagement. My Hydro's still up, so I know there's no torps here. And what I want to do, I know I've got a gearing here. I know I've got 2 battleships here. I want to push into this island and just kind of wall this area off from the enemy. This guy being hydroed, he's not really going to want to push into the cap. We're able to actually flip the center cap. And at this point, you know, I am at my weakest. I have no smoke. I have no hydro. Those are my 2 strongest consumables. I am running on speed boost, so it gives me a little bit extra flexibility as far as maneuvering around the battlefield. I just dropped those torps right there, just trying to get a, you know, a cheeky little torp ambush. But I think this battleship slams on the brakes. And I think he might be slamming on the brakes because this Shima might have got spotted. I think that's a Shima. Yeah. So I'm just gonna chill here. I'm in no rush. You know, I've captured the objective that I wanted. We actually captured the second ring in the cap, and just waiting. I've got hydro, you know, ready. I've got AP loaded, ready to go. The torpedoes are quick reloading, so I'm getting ready to, you know, potentially drop some other torps on target. You know, if that DD rushes around the corner of the island, I'm, you know, ready to go. Instead, this Lion is just going crazy right around the island. So I don't want to torp this guy. I know I've got a North Carolina coming in even closer. Before I wouldn't have poked like that, but with the battleship AP rework, you know, it's no big deal. I basically finished the North Carolina off and just resumed shooting the Lion. Now this Lion's angling, so my AP's not going to do much at this angle. Switching back to HE, just trying to splash the superstructure, maybe get a piece of the stern of the ship to light a fire there. But at this point, I'm looking more for the raw damage to put this guy down. My team finishes the guy off. Now, while all of this was happening, I did re-smoke, and I did re-hydro. And the effect the hydro had was it picked up the gearing for my team to shoot at and pushed this guy even further out. So these guys that pushed in, they lost any destroyer support just because, you know, that guy had to try to work around my hydro. Now, this is the nasty thing that I'm talking about. You know, for the next minute 6 seconds, I've got God tier concealment and vision, and you know, it doesn't seem like much, but that split second, you know, lets me get my ship angled, get my guns on target, Uh, it gives me that, really nice opportunity to, clean this guy up and get that first shot in. Um, so that's another use for hydro that I don't really see many people talking about. Mainly, I think part of that is because uh, snowstorms are so new that some people may not even think about it. Uh, Next step in the game, I've got a Des Moines that's pushing up. I can't hold really against this Des Moines when he's pushing like this and I don't have, terrain or something to keep me safe. So I'm just giving ground. I threw some torps out there. I suspect he's going to try to hug that, the backside of that island. So maybe I get lucky with a torp. I do get radared and I'm just kiting away. And yeah, he takes a torp. I don't know. He might have took that amidships. I'm not too sure, but there was a flooding there, so I know the guy has used his damage control. But I don't expect he's going to keep chasing me. I expect him to, to turn into the center of the cap. So I'm basically throwing some, Make-A-Wish torpedoes out into this center area of the cap. And then I'm just being cheeky here. I've got a smoke available. It's still going to be a while for my hydro. So I was basically just planning on trying to get some AP into this Des Moines. Just because even at this range, the AP will do, 3-5K volleys on him, pretty consistently. So I basically was saving that smoke just as, an emergency reserve because the Des Moines doesn't have radar. He just used it on me. Unfortunately, the snowstorm, cuts both ways, and that Des Moines was able to disengage. I was kind of hoping I'd have, the ability to get 5 or 6 shots on the guy before he disengaged or I had to smoke up. So at this point, it's looking like my team's pretty solid. Um, so I'm switching more into the maximize my damage results. So I'm pushing right into the center of the cap. I know this Des Moines is going to have radar soon. But I'm looking at things. Okay, we've got a Yamato here. We've got a Fletcher here. That Fletcher should be torping the shit out of the Kerfers. This Yamato should be able to wreck this Des Moines. Life in my world is looking pretty good right now. So, Des Moines does radar. I go on ahead and I'm pushing in here to this island. Just gonna hug it a little bit. So, I've got something that I can use for cover. That's just habit from the old days of the cyclones and radar and stuff like that. The reality is this Kurfürst, he's he just killed that Yamato. He's going to be looking at probably shooting that Fletcher that's even closer to him. So I basically push into this island, and this is starting to unravel. We're down to 3-2, but at this point I'm kind of committed. I need to make sure that we get the kill on this guy. So I basically took one long, fired one set short. And I'm basically able to trade out with the Des Moines. Now, unfortunately, my team, they pretty much just keep throwing their ship away. You know, this Yamato, I don't understand why the game's this late. Just friggin', you know, we're this far along in the game. You're still on the 10 line. Just anybody that's out here is a waste of time anyway. It's a snowstorm. They can't shoot anything. Just go to, go support your team around the cap. If we would have had this Yamato in here, you know, during that fight, I'd still be alive. That Yamato would be able to wreck the Des Moines as he tried to poke on me. And in all likelihood, that Des Moines wouldn't even poke. He would just sit there and chill, and they would just lose on points. Um, instead, you sit there and you make terrible players relevant because you want to fight them out there on the 9 and 10 line, as far away from the action as you can. The 9 and 10 line, they're relevant in the early and the mid game. But once you hit the final stages of battle, when you're down to just a handful of ships, you goddamn have to be fighting over the objective. So just, some pointers for guys that are, it goes for any type of ship class. If you're down to just a handful of ships and, there's under 5 minutes left in the game and, you're worried about points and all that kind of thing, you have to play the objective. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't, just rely on, killing your way to a victory there. That's a sure way to lose on points. So just some general advice there for all ship classes as far as, what you should be doing, in the late game. But this was some Z52 content that I hope you guys liked. Um, just showing kind of some of the different uses of Hydro. There's a lot of really subtle, skilled plays that you can make that it can really be quite annoying to try to deal with with any other DD that doesn't have a way to counter detect a Z52 that's smoked up or behind an island or something like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the game, or games, since there was two here. I hope you guys are having a good night, and I will talk to you guys later.